Hello, my name is Asia Bohannon, and I will be presenting a slide deck with a voiceover from my book report to the book, The Sitting Pretty, The View from My Ordinary Resilient Disabled Body by Rebecca Taussig. So here we have the cover of the book, and so I'm just going to get into what this book is about. So this book basically shakes up how we usually see disability in media and society. Instead of the usual inspiration or pity storylines, she pushes for more real portrayals that show the full picture of life with a disability. Taussig explores disability as a core part of who someone is, just like race or gender, and how we need to see it as part of human diversity, not just a problem or a defect. This book also talks about navigating relationships, dating, and intimacy while having a disability. She stresses that inclusion needs to be a daily intentional thing, not just a nice idea. She also writes about how disability and feminism intersects, pointing out that disabled women often get left out of mainstream feminism. So, here are some facts about the author. Rebecca Taussig is a writer, educator, and disability advocate from Kansas City. She was born in the mid-1980s in Manhattan, Kansas. Diagnosed with cancer at 14 months old, she experienced paralysis from the waist down. So she dedicates her work to reshaping societal views on disability. In the book, Sitting Pretty, The View from My Ordinary Resilient Disabled Body, she aims to shift perspectives on disability, portraying it as a common aspect of humanity rather than something people should pity or idealize. She invites readers to consider disability in a more nuanced light, aligning with concepts discussed in class. So, here we have some themes throughout the book. Taussig deeply dives into how disability shapes personal identity. Disability is not a tragedy or a limitation, but a valid and meaningful way of being. Representation. She advocates throughout the book for representation of disabled people in media, education, and everyday life. Accessibility and inclusion. This book explores both physical and social barriers faced by disabled people, and she advocates for more inclusive spaces. Challenging societal perceptions. She pushes back on the idea that disabled lives are inherently different or less than. There are many more themes, but these are just to highlight some of the big ones. Challenges and how Rebecca Taussig overcame them. Rebecca Taussig faced numerous challenges as a disabled woman, many of which stem from how society is structured and how it perceives disability. She bumped into a lot of hurdles because society isn't really set up for everyone. So growing up, Taussig didn't see stories or characters that reflected her life. Instead, she became that representation that she saw was lacking, using her story and her platform to share representation of life with a disability. Another challenge was navigating ableism. She internalized some of the negative messages about her body and abilities, leading to shame and even insecurity, eventually learning to embrace her body as enough rather than something that needs to be fixed. So basically, writing became a tool of healing and empowerment for her. Additionally, simple places weren't wheelchair friendly, which made her push for a universal design. Think making spaces work for everyone, no matter their abilities. She also got tired of being seen as inspirational just for doing normal stuff and really wanted to see disabled people portrayed authentically in media. Then there's the weird idea that disabled folks aren't interested in love or relationships, which she tackled head on by talking openly about it and honestly about her own experiences. Critiquing ableism. Rebecca Taussig's book takes on ableism, which is when society favors able-bodied people and makes life harder for those with disability. She shows how this happens in everyday situations, like buildings not being accessible or people just making assumptions. A big thing she also points out is how strangers often call her inspirational. She talks about this a lot throughout the book, just for doing normal stuff. While it may seem nice, she argues that it actually comes from ableism, because it suggests that people don't think she can live a regular life. For example, people will randomly tell her she's such an inspiration just for shopping, which shows that they have low expectations of her. So she navigates this throughout the book by sharing her stories and her thoughts. My perception of disability. Sitting Pretty changed my understanding of disability. It showed me that inclusion means valuing disabled people as they are. This book challenged disability's tragic image and showed that disabled people can live fulfilling lives. Acceptance and respect are key here. It showed me that real inclusion means valuing disabled people for who they are, not trying to fix them. This book also really made me rethink the idea that disability is a tragic occurrence, and instead showed me how disabled people actually live full, happy lives. It reminded me to see disabled people for who they are, as complete people, not problems. And honestly, before this, I almost felt how the people she described in her book, but now I feel much more informed, especially with the book and the classwork combined. It really drove home that acceptance, access, and respect are key and not pity. Lessons for my future practice. This novel and also the class assignments have taught me valuable lessons that I will carry into my future practice. Me wanting to go into medicine, I now understand the critical importance of respecting each patient's personal life and not reducing them to their diagnosis. I'm determined to avoid making assumptions about the capabilities of disabled people, and I will treat them as the complete capable individuals that they are. They are not problems to be solved, but people living full, meaningful lives. My goal is to be supportive, understanding, and inclusive as a physician, both in my language and my practice. Rebecca Tausig's story has served as a powerful reminder that healthcare extends far beyond treatment. It encompasses connection, dignity, and truly seeing the person before me. So my goal after reading Sitting Pretty is to practice medicine with inclusion, compassion, understanding, and more. This book showed me how often healthcare professionals make assumptions about person's abilities, their quality of life, or needs based solely on their diagnosis or just what they see. I've learned that everything isn't always as it seems. So I will strive in my future practice to always be mindful and create a safe space for patients to feel seen, to feel heard, and safe. It's not pitied or like something to fix. Not everyone needs to be fixed, and that's something that I've learned and I will carry on with me. So thank you. Rebecca Tausig's Sitting Pretty has inspired me to rethink my approach to patient care, particularly for individuals with disabilities. In the future, I aim to treat disabled patients as whole and capable people, focusing on what they actually need rather than their disabilities. By actively listening and respecting who they are, I can challenge the systemic biases that create barriers to equitable healthcare. As a physician, I will advocate for accessibility in all aspects of my practice, recognizing that small, intentional changes can create a much more inclusive healthcare environment. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope my presentation was clear and informative.